Hello class and welcome to Unit 4 Video 4. Today we're going to go ahead and do some more factoring. So once again, as the same as Unit 4 Video 3, your learning target is I can factor quadratic expressions. So today we're going to take a look at ax squared plus bx plus c. I just want you to remember that if I had x plus 3 times x minus 2 and I FOIL this, I would have x squared minus 2x plus 3x minus 6. Okay, and if you notice, this x squared comes from multiplying your first two terms, and the negative 6 comes from multiplying your last two terms. And if I simplify, your b term comes from your outer two, so x times 2, and your inner 2, 3 times x. So this is the OI part, the OI part of FOIL. So that's where everything comes. So we're going to use that idea to help us factor again today. Okay, so let's just look at the first example. We're going to use the box method on the first example, and then we're going to go ahead and do a guess and check method on the rest of these today. So the box method, remember we took our A times our C. Okay, so A times C first. In this case, it's 2 times 5, which is 10. And I think, what are my factors of 10? What multiplies to 10 but adds to 11? 1 times 11. Okay, so I really have 1x and 1 times 11 is not 10. 1 times 10 is 10. Okay, so I'm going to put my box, set my box up. My A term goes here, and my C term goes here. And these two are what's going to get me to 11x. So I have 1x and I have 10x. And once again, it doesn't matter which one goes where, you'll still get the right answer. Then we take out the GCF, looking left to right. What can I factor out of here? X. Bottom part, looking left to right, I can factor out a 5. Up and down, I can factor out a 2x. And out of here, they're not divisible by the same number other than 1. So my answers are x plus 5 and 2x plus 1. So there is my first answer. And one other thing I want to point out is x plus 5 times 2x plus 1 is the same as if I were to write this as 2x plus 1 times x plus 5. Okay, so you can use the box method when the term is greater than 1. However, if you plan on going into pre-calculus or any math higher than Algebra 2, I highly recommend that you start getting comfortable with the guess and check method. The guess and check method is going to work by, you're going to start out with your two sets of parentheses, and you're going to say, well, my first two have to multiply to my ax squared, and my last two need to multiply to my c. Then the outer and the inners multiplied and added together will need to give me my b term. Okay, so let's just look at an example. And also, there's a reason this is the OI part. It's the harder part to find. The first and the last two are easy. The OI is what's the harder part. So let's just go ahead and try this. All right, so I'm just going to set up my two sets of parentheses right away. And I'm going to start guessing. The nice thing about 3 is the only thing that multiplies to 3 is 3 times 1. So I know I'm going to have a 3x and a 1x. Okay. The next thing is, I would say, because my first two multiply to my a term, now I'm going to look at my c term. We need to multiply to negative 7. The nice thing about 7 is the only thing that does that is 1 times 7. So let's go ahead and just try this. Okay, I'm going to put 1 in here and 7 in here. Now I get to figure out, well, does this work to give me my outer and my inner? So I check. If I multiply my outer 2, I get 21x, and my inner 2, I get x. Using those two and adding them together, can I get to negative 4 at all? No, that's not possible. So what I need to try then is another method or another way. I'm going to switch my 7 and my 1. I would try 1. That's what I just tried, wasn't it? Yes, so I need to try 7 here and 1 here. So this would give you 7x when I check my inner, and 3x when I check my outer. And if I want to get to a -4, if I have -7 plus 3, I would have -4. So that means when I multiply these two, I get negative. And when I multiply these two, I get positive. So my answer, factored, is 3x minus 7. I'm just rewriting this, and x plus 1. So that's your guess and check. The more you do of guess and check, the quicker you will get. Okay. Once again, don't like guess and check. You can go ahead and do the box method. Okay. Let's go ahead and try another one with guess and check. Okay. First one. So my first two in my parentheses need to multiply to 4x squared. This one might be a little more difficult because I know 4 is 2 times 2 or 1 times 4. Okay. I always like to start out with the numbers that are closer together. So I'm going to try 2x and 2x. And then I'm happy about my C term because it's 2, and the only thing that multiplies to 2 is 2 and 1. So let's just give it a try. 1 and 2. Okay, so my first two multiply to my A, and my last two multiply to my C right now. But let's check my outer. That would give me 4x. And my inners. Well, that gives me 2x. Using those two, can I get my B term? No, I cannot. So that means that this one doesn't work. Because if I switch them around, since my front numbers are the same, it's not going to make a difference. So this won't matter, or this won't work. So let's go ahead and try x and 4x. Okay, and once again, I take note, my front two multiply to 4x squared. Then I would have, I'm going to try 2 and 1. Okay. Multiplying those two, I get 8x. Multiplying these two, I get 1x. Using those two, can I get to 9x at all? Yes, I can. They would both have to be positive. So my answer factored is x plus 2 and 4x plus 1. I promise the more that you do of these, the quicker it will get. Even quicker than using the box method. So try and use this. Okay. Moving on to 4. 2 sets of parentheses. My A term is 2. Nice thing about 2 is it's only 2 and 1. So 1 times 2. Then I have 12. Okay, my factors of 12 are 1 times 12, 2 times 6, 3 times 4. Okay, there's a lot of options here. I want to get to 5. Okay, so I'm just going to start. I like to personally start with the pairs that are closest to see if it works. Just my way of doing it. I think it works quickly. It works the quickest. So I'm going to go ahead and give this a try. Oh, forgot on my A's. I have to have X's, right? 1x and 2x. So let's try 3 and 4. If I put 3 here and 4 here, this gives me 6x, and this gives me 4x. Is that one going to work? No. So I swap them around. This gives me, so if I put 4 here and 3 here, this gives me 8x, and this gives me 3x. Can I get to 5 in that way? Yes, I can. I want a positive 5, so I would subtract 3. So this would make this a negative, and this a positive. So I check. My first two give me 2x squared. My last two, 4 times -3, gives you -12. And my outer and my inner will give me that 5. So here is my answer. It's x plus 4 and 2x minus 3. Okay, that's number 4. I would recommend now would be a good time for you to pause the video, and I would recommend doing 5, 6, 7, and 8 all on your own. Give them a try. Pick your method, and then watch the video through just to make sure you have the right answer. Okay, so looking at number 5. Okay, number 9 is a little bit trickier because there's more than one factor. We have 1 times 9 and 3 times 3. I like to start out with if they're pairs. Okay, so 3x and 3x. There's less ways to check. 4 is 1 times 4 and 2 times 2. Okay, so I'm just going to think about this in my head. If I put a 4 here, I'm going to have 3 times 4, which is 12. And if I put a 1 here, I'll have 3. So 12 and 3 is 15, so that's going to work. So I have 1 and 4. This gives me 3x. This gives me 12x. And I will get to my B term, and they're both positive because I want to multiply to a positive 4 and add to 15. Good. All right, number 6, I go ahead. My factors of 10. 1 times 10, 2 times 5. Okay, so I'm going to start out with, once again, the numbers that are closer together. 2x, and 5x. And I am so happy that I have 5 because the only factors of 5 are 5 and 1. So if I go ahead and try this, I'm going to think about in my head. I want to get to 27, so I'm going to want my numbers to multiply to be bigger. So if I put 5 here, I'm going to have 5 times 5 and 2 times 1. Would that work? Let's try it. So I put 5 here and 1 here. This is 25. This is 2. So with those two, I could get to negative 27. They would both have to be negative. So let's try it. Negative 5 times negative 1 does give me a positive 5. And if I add these together, I get a negative 27. So my solution is here. Okay. Good. Moving on to number 7. Okay. 6. Factors of 6. 1 times 6 and 2 times 3. So I'm going to start out with 2x and 3x. Okay, and I'm so happy because 1 is prime. It's only 1 times 1. Why did I write times? 1. So I'm going to go ahead and check. This gives me 3x. This gives me 2x. Does that get me to 5x? Yes, they would both have to be positive. So my answer for this one is 2x plus 1 and 3x plus 1. Whenever you see a prime number like 1, 2, 5, 7, you are happy because there's only one option to try. Okay, looking at number 8. This one's a little bit trickier. No primes on the beginning or on the end. So 6, we have 1 times 6 and 2 times 3. So I'm going to start out with my 2 and the 3 just to give it a try. 20, there's 1 times 20, 2 times 10, 4 times 5. So I want to get to 23. Okay, so I think to myself, if I want to do that, could my 4 and 5 work? Well, if I put a 5 here, that would give me 15. So let's try it. This gives me 15x. And if I put my 4 here, that gives me 8x. 15 plus 8 is 23. I want it to be a negative, so I'd make them both negative. So negatives here. And so this would be my answer. I would have 2x minus 5 times 3x minus 4. Okay, so there is our factoring. One last problem on the note sheet. It is the area of a rectangle is 8x squared plus 10x minus 3. Find the dimensions of the rectangle. Okay, well, in this case, we know area of a rectangle is length times width. So I need to go ahead and figure out what 8x squared plus 10x minus 3 factors into. So I would go ahead and I'm going to do guess and check. And I know my factors of 8 are 1 times 8 and 2 times 4. And that's it there. So I'm going to start with my 2 and 4 just to try it. So I would have 2x and 4x. And now 3. I know 3 is a prime. I'm happy. It's 1 times 3. So I'm just going to try. I want to get to 10. If I put a 1 here, I'm going to have 8. And if I put a 3 here, I'm going to have 6. 8 and 6 is going to be bigger than 10. So maybe try it the other way. I would have 3 here. So that would give me 12 and 2. Could I get to 10 that way? Yes. Sorry, I don't know why I wrote 2. So I'm going to try it out. This gives you 12x. This gives you 2x, my outer and my inner. I want to multiply to negative 3, so it's fine if one of them is negative. So I'd have a negative 2x, so that means this is negative and this is positive. And it all works out. 3 times negative 1 is our negative 3. And when I check these here, I would get 10. So my dimensions are 2x plus 3 and 4x minus 1. One's the length, one's the width. Okay. Okay, the last thing we need to talk about is factor the following by grouping. So we have actually been using grouping when you use the box method. But there's 2 different ways you can think about this. Okay. If we're doing grouping, we can draw our box. And this one's different than what we have been doing. If you notice, there's 4 terms. There's an x to the third, an x squared, an x, and then just a number. So I'm just going to go ahead and start writing them down. So I would have 25x to the third, then I have 5x squared, 30x, and 6. So now what I do is to go ahead and look and say, well, what can I take out of both of these? They're both divisible by a 5x squared. And if I look here, they're both divisible by 6. Okay. Then I would look up and down, and I would say 25 and 30, both divisible by 5. And then I can also take just an x out of this one. Here I look, I can't take anything out, but you can always take out essentially a 1. So if I wanted to factor this one using the box method, it would be 5x squared plus 6. Not a box, we need parentheses. 5x squared in parentheses, and then 5x plus 1. Okay, so if you want to use the box method for grouping when there's 4 different terms, you can. The other way you can think about it is, look at the first 2, look at the last 2. Kind of take them in individual pieces. Okay, I'll look at this one. What can I take out of 28 and 16? They're both divisible by 4, so I'm going to have 4. And then I would say I can take out an x squared. Okay, well, 28 times what gives you 4? Or sorry, 4 times what gives me 28? That is 7. X squared times what gives you x to the third? 7x. 4 times what gives you 16? So it's plus 4, because 4 times 4 is 16. And then x squared, we already got it, so we're good. So that's from looking at this first part. Now I'm going to go ahead and look at the second part. Okay, they're both negative, so I'm going to take out a negative of whatever it is. And I say 21 and 12, both divisible by 3. So I'm going to take out a 3, and I can't take out an x. So I would say negative 3 times what gives you 21? 7x. And then negative 3 times what gives you negative 12? 4. Then there's something very nice that should happen. And if it doesn't, it means you made a mistake most likely. Notice how this is exactly the same. Okay, so we have 7x plus 4. That is one of our factors. And then whatever is left, 4x squared minus 3, that is my other factor. Okay, so there it is, done using grouping. They're both done using grouping. This one just uses the box to kind of help you out. You can do it either way. We have 2 more examples. I'm going to do one more with the box, and I'm going to do the other one with just no box to help me out. Okay, so I look at 12, and if I want to do the box, I just write each term in the box. So I have 16xy minus 4x squared. Then I have 28y minus 7x. So I would say 16 and 4, both divisible by 4. So I would have 4, and then I can take out an x. Okay, here I can take out a 7. Up and down, I can take out a 4, and they both have a y, so 4y. And here, I can take out, notice how they're both negative, so I want to take out that negative. 4 and 7, I can't divide them by the same number, but I can take out a negative x. Okay, so my factor is really 4x plus 7 and 4y minus x. And that is it for number 12. Okay, so once again, box method. Now we're going to go ahead and just do it by grouping. So I look at the first 2, and then I look at the second 2. Okay, so looking at my first 2, I have 12 and 3. I say, what are they both divisible by? They're both divisible by 3. I have an x squared and an x squared, so I can take out an x squared. Then I have a u and a v over here, so I can't take those out. Okay, so parentheses. 3 times what gives you 12? 3 times 4. X squared times, well, that we already have that. So, and the only thing I need to leave is the u. Plus 3 times what gives you 3? Well, 1. We already have the x squared, so I just have the v. Now here, notice there's a plus sign, so I'm going to write a plus. They're both positive. And I say 28 and 7 are both divisible by 7. They both have a y, and then one has a u, one has a v. Okay, so I'm taking out a 7y. 7 times what gives you 28? 4. U is left on the inside, and then I would have v. Once again, in parentheses, should be exactly the same, and it is. So I have 4u plus v, and my other factor is what is left over. So it's 3x squared plus 7y. Okay, so there's my last factoring by grouping. If you have any questions on this, please let me know. Otherwise, have a nice day.